Welcome to another day with Jesus, a daily devotional podcast to help you walk with Jesus, live for Jesus, and represent Jesus. Now let us open our heart to receive as Pastor Preji shares from the heart of God.
Greetings in Jesus' precious name. Welcome to this beautiful new day. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we are expected to choose to celebrate and rejoice in this particular day. You should understand that our life circumstances may or may not change on a daily basis, but our choices, how we choose to respond to our circumstances, that is completely up to us. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 25, worry, it weighs a person down, but an encouraging word cheers a person up. So today we have two options, either to constantly worry. You may be at the receiving end of a lot of worry when somebody speaks to you, when your parents tell you something, when you listen to the news reports, or when you are waiting for the results that the doctors are supposed to give you. That can actually create worry or anxiety. Now, the Bible says worry has the capacity to weigh a person down, to bring a person down. See, you and I, we are supposed to be seated with Christ in heavenly places. But when we worry, we are demoted from our spiritual position. Now we are no longer looking at things from God's perspective. Now we begin to look at things from the perspective of a fallen human race. That is what worry does. If there is one thing that Jesus was consciously intentional about teaching us in the New Testament, it is that worrying and being anxious for tomorrow, being anxious about our needs, being anxious about our lack, being anxious about the things that we are dependent on is a sin that you shouldn't even be doing that. That is the mark of an unbeliever. Every child of God needs to learn the practice, the discipline of living a worry-free life. Because worry, it has the capacity to weigh you down. You and I, we do not want to be tied down by worries. You and I, we do not want to be tied down by negative reports. Now, I'm not saying these negative reports are not real. They may be real. The danger may be right there at your doorstep. And yet, the choice is up to you. Are you going to respond with worry? Are you going to respond with anxiety? Are you going to respond in your human flesh? Now, as much as that is normal, God has not called us to a normal life. You and I, we have been given a higher perspective. We have been seated with Christ in heavenly places. And that is why the words that we speak, see, when the book of Proverbs, when it tells you that worry, it is going to weigh a person down, the opposite of worry is not to just say ignore the problem. It says instead of worrying, why don't you speak an encouraging word, because that can cheer a person up. So if you are faced with a worry, why don't you speak an encouraging word to yourself? You would see at a point when David was about to be stoned by his own soldiers, his own people. The Bible says that David, he encouraged himself in the Lord. He didn't have anybody else encouraging him at that point. He did have a lot of worry. His family were lost. His people's families were lost. And now these people, they were planning to kill him, stone him in fact. That can be cause of real worry. But instead of giving into that worry, he chose to encourage himself in the Lord at that point. And today, we have a choice of either giving into that worry or to speak something encouraging over ourselves. When the world speaks things that is going to cause worry over your life? What is it that you speak over yourself? What is it that you tell yourself? When you make it a practice to speak encouraging words to yourself, it has to eventually flow out of you as a natural lifestyle where when you see somebody else who is worried, you will now be the reason for that person to be encouraged, for that person now no longer to be demoted, but that person also to be promoted to where you are. It says that an encouraging word, it cheers a person up, or it brings a person up, lifts up the spirits of that person, lifts him up from a humanly, earthly perspective to a divine, heavenly perspective. You should understand, this is the same philosophy and the logic that a lot of New Age and a lot of systems in the world also use. But this is a divine biblical principle where God has taught us that we should not be giving into the sin of worry, but that we should give in to encouraging words, encouraging and words that is going to bring laughter, joy, peace, contentment, satisfaction, and consistent peace into your heart and to the heart of the person who is listening to you. In the New Testament, we would see this character called Barnabas. He was the guy who identified Saul, who had now become Paul, and he said, everybody in the church is worried about this guy because this guy used to be killing Christians. But instead, Barnabas chose to be the person to go out there and encourage Paul, and encourage him to continue to do what he was doing, and encourage him to go and meet the apostles, encourage him to spend time with the church, encourage him to do the right thing. And that man, that the word, the Barnabas itself means a son of encouragement. So my hope, my prayer is that you and I, we will be children of encouragement, sons and daughters of encouragement, those that are going to constantly encourage ourselves, and we will make it a practice to encourage the people around us. Thank you for tuning in today. May the Lord cause this podcast that is coming to you to become an encouraging word for you, so that you can be cheered up, lifted up in your spirit. We will catch up again next week.
We hope you are encouraged by today's podcast. To know more about Pastor Preji or other resources you can avail, or to receive help in any specific area, connect with us at pastorpreji.com. We wish you a Christ-filled day ahead.